This is the G.I. Joe classified series Cobra Richard Crystal Ball King. Now, I wasn't initially planning on getting this figure because growing up as a kid, nobody wanted this figure. If you remember the old vintage 3.75-inch Crystal Ball figure, it was a corny figure. Nobody wanted it, not even my friends. I never had it. No plans of getting this one, but I just watched over the weekend the New York Comic-Con summarized panel from Hasbro Pulse, and they did mention that the fan favorite for 2025 classified series figure or set or vehicle, whatever, was none other than Crystal Ball. And this thing beat out sets like the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Cold Slither set. It beat out the Snake armor. I mean, can you believe that? The Snake armor was pretty badass. I thought that would be the figure of the year, but this thing beat that. And then I think third runner-up was Law and Order. I mean, this thing beat Law and Order. I thought that was a pretty good set. I haven't gotten that myself, but I loved Law and Order growing up as a kid. I was really curious. So I decided to try and pick this one up. It was sold out on Amazon, and which piqued my interest even more. I was like, oh, okay, it's sold out. So I went to my usual haunt here in Manila. If you watch my videos, I go to Green Hills. Now, Green Hills, no other shop was selling him. I was literally shocked, except Our Toys, one of my favorite shops out there. It was the last one on the store shelf, and I said, yeah, why not, right? I decided to pick it up. Hopefully, this thing won't disappoint. And here is Crystal Ball out of the box, and oh my goodness, now I know why there was so much hype and buzz and why everybody enjoyed this figure. He is a far cry from that really corny 1980s vintage G.I. Joe figure. He looks like he's from the crew of Captain Jack Sparrow. In fact, he actually looks like a vampire version of Captain Jack Sparrow, who sidelines as a hypnotist and fortune teller. I don't know, and as well as a mercenary and all that. He's just so cool now. He's got a radical glam up change of outfit. He's got all these cool accessories, which we'll talk about later, and the overall design and sculpt is just amazing. They really did a makeover on this guy, and I think it works. Head to toe, the figure stands at about 16 centimeters tall, or about 6 3/8 inches tall. For comparisons, here he is with a couple of G.I. Joe classified series figures. We've got the retro carded Duke, and we've got the very first version of Snake Eyes. Now, this figure is due for an upgrade and re-release. I am really surprised that the G.I. Joe classified series team has not released, or not even planning, a retro carded Snake Eyes with Timber figure. I mean, that would have been really awesome. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. What I am happy with this figure is it is in the exact same scale as these older, bigger figures, and they didn't shrink the figure's buck, much like what they were doing with Leatherneck and the other figures like Dial Tone and all that. I like that they've kept the original scale and size of the figure. Now, if you grew up in the 80s like I did, we collected a lot of G.I. Joes, and this was what it looked like back in the day, and he had nothing going for him. He had this shield that had like a sticker or a card that was lenticular. It shifted as you looked at it differently as you moved it, and it was just like a spiraling flower. It was supposed to be his weapon to hypnotize the Joes or whoever, his victims and all that. And his name is actually a misnomer. It's Crystal Ball, the Cobra Hypnotist. Crystal Ball is supposed to be for someone who has precog abilities, a fortune teller, you know, something like that. If he's a hypnotist, he should have been, I don't know, somebody like Mesmero or something like that. But they gave him Crystal Ball, and back in the day, you know, growing up as a kid, you'd really just take whatever Hasbro gave you, and you know, come to think of it, even up to this day, we tend to just accept and take whatever Hasbro gives out and releases. But anyway, so he had nothing going for him, and look how corny the figure looked. I mean, apart from the shield, he looks like he's a ringleader in a circus, or sort of like a Craven the Hunter wannabe. He didn't have a trench coat. He had this, I don't know, it looks like something from Robin Hood's Merry Men, or You know, it's a weird outfit. He's got some pants. He's got molded gun, which he really didn't have a gun, an accessory as a figure. And he had this shield, like I said, is a lenticular shield. And he had the weirdest head sculpt. It's creepy. It's a very, very creepy head sculpt. So this new figure, a complete far cry from what we had back in the 80s. Now onto the figure itself. Let's begin with the shield. When I first saw the promo images and all that, and the shield had something molded on it, I felt, this is Hydra's shield. I mean, this is not Crystal Ball's shield. Why does he have something like this? Is it glow in the dark? Whatever. Apparently, it's not glow in the dark. It's part of this new technology that if you watch Hasbro Pulse, Leon and the whole design team, they call this the Dire Tech type of COBRA weapon that allows them to project images and scare the living daylights out of their enemies, the G.I. Joes. It creates illusions, basically. And again, it's a detraction from his original function as a hypnotist. The hypnotist is just, you know, he mesmerized the Joe and asked him to do his bidding. But here, it's more of like Scarecrow from the DC universe, or Mysterio, if you would, in the Spider-Man universe, Marvel universe. Something like that. Scarecrow, Mysterio, and he's dressed up like Jack Sparrow. And as you can clearly see, the whole outfit, the whole sculpt is so different because underneath the jacket, he has the original weird ringleader circus outfit, but the whole jacket ensemble really just makes this figure such a totally different figure. It makes him look like a bounty hunter or a relic hunter. I love this trench coat, and it doesn't impede too much on articulation when trying to pose him. So yeah, and I love the fact that it's kind of sleeveless, so they didn't have to mold sculpting here and there for his sleeves, for his arms, so you could really, you know, pose his arms. And that sculpt, the head sculpt, I'm jumping now, I should be talking about the weapons, but let me just quickly talk about the head sculpt. I'm just so excited about this figure, I don't know why. You can see he looks totally different. He's a much younger, I guess much younger head sculpt compared to that weird looking face with the balding and the mustache and all that. And he's got these necklaces. He's got long hair. He's so dashing. Look at that. And the makeup that he has on, really more than a hypnotist, he's really more of an illusionist now. Okay, he's got a lot of artifacts here and there. He's got a holster. We'll talk about that later. His boots, still very G1 underneath that jacket. So going back to the accessories, the shield was the one thing that really struck me. I said, what? What happened? This is the shield? And then apparently this thing comes off and boom. Wow, look at that. They kept the lenticular shield effect. And this time it's not that spiraling flower. That was so useless, man. It's a skull with snakes, and I don't know if you can see it clearly, but as you move the shield, you know, when you were a kid in the 80s, this was the best thing. You know, we didn't have internet, we didn't have cable, we had this. You had rulers that, you know, the cars would move as you tip the thing. If you know what I'm talking about, you're probably my age, you probably grew up in the same generation. Look at this, look how cool this is. And now kids nowadays are thinking, this is so lame. This is like the most ridiculous thing. But if you grew up in the 80s, oh my goodness, this was this was everything. You were so popular if you came to school with one of those rulers that had these lenticular stickers on them. Oh my goodness, it's like moving. And then, you know, during recess, you'd all look at it for hours. You'd just be looking at it like that. I know. We didn't have much back in the day. So the shield is pretty cool. It's like a Masters of the Universe shield. It's got a secondary grip right here. I'm glad they cut that because it would have been an absolute pain to just slip that forearm and have him grab it, much like what Marvel Legends does. So good job, the Classified Series team. He does still have his shield. I love that. The lenticular shield. So this one's cool. I would have wished it to be glow in the dark. Is it glow in the dark? Nope. I guess it would look great under black lights or whatever, or some backlights here and there, but yeah, it's okay. Okay, and then he has his gun. This feels like a gun that's wrapped with a snake artifact or whatever. It's a revolver pistol. I guess it's blast effect compatible if you want to. It fits on his either hand, gripping hand, and will fit nicely in the holster, which is again very nicely sculpted holster. I mean, come on, they really spend a lot. I mean, they didn't spare uh, any budget on this guy. Look at that. Even the holster is sculpted. I thought it would end there, but he has these dire tech accessories, which I think are the coolest thing. He has a Cthulhu head sculpt. I thought it was a helmet, but it is a replaceable head, which I'll show off later. But let me just show this off. Look how cool this thing is. It's like a demon Cthulhu. And wow, this alone is enough for you to purchase this figure. Unbelievable sculpt. I am just loving this one. Can't wait to take photos, and I'll show it off later. And then he has, true to his form, like I told you, he's like Jack Sparrow. He has a ghost pirate blade. I guess this is also an illusion. Maybe he just has the scabbard, and the blade is actually an illusion that he creates so that the Joes would like, oh my God, it's a sword. It's a ghost sword. And it even has the effects, some ghostly effects. Wow, I am loving it. And then he has a third hand, which is more of like a grabbing hand or a holding hand, which he can use to hold his actual crystal ball. Sorry. He now has an actual crystal ball that is, again, it's not real, it's an illusion. It's probably something he can use to scare off the Joes or whatever, tell them you have bad fortune, ill fortune coming your way. This is your future, something like that. So I thought this was great. It's all made of that gummy, soft PVC material. Even the glass bubble would have been nice if this was a little bit more solid, but I guess they couldn't do that. They had to make it soft so that they could put in these things. It's okay. It looks great when you pose it. Don't really need to be solid, but it does its job. You can see there's a skull right there. I don't know if you can clearly see it. Look at that. There's like a creepy skull inside, and then there's tendrils around it. Very, very cool. So yeah, amazing stuff. Let me just show off this Cthulhu head on him. Wow. I mean, come on. If that's not from the world of Jack Sparrow, I don't know what is. Really, really cool. So, as you could have seen, he's got a dumbbell ball joint here and here, and he's got a ball joint at the base of the neck. The torso has this ratcheting ab crunch and a ball jointed waist. He's got butterfly hinges for shoulders. The shoulders go in and out, forward, backward, 360. Bicep swivel, pinless double hinged elbows. Wrists are on swivels and hinges. They go left and right, or I guess up and down. He's got drop down ball joint hinges for his hips. He can do the splits, kick forward, backward, thigh swivel. My thighs on my copy, though, they were a little bit frozen. I had to just pull it, insert it in and out just to wiggle it, just to shake it off. Maybe some paint had dried up and all that, so be careful with yours. Let me know if you had the same issues with your thigh swivels on your figure. And then he's got pinless double hinged knees. He's got a boot cut. Ankles go up and down and have the rocker tilt. All in all, it is a spectacular designed mold. Great buck, fantastic articulation. The design and details of the figure itself is great, but the accessories are really what's selling this figure, and unbelievable. I completely understand now why this was the choice for favorite figure for 2025 of the Classified series. And so some final thoughts on this Classified series Crystal Ball. Boy, this figure absolutely impressed me. I did not think I was gonna like it this much. Seeing him in packaging when I bought him, I got home and I was thinking, man, did I make a mistake on this one? But he's the fan favorite for 2025. I got to find out why. And sure enough, this figure delivered. The designers of the Classified series had turned a complete zero back in the 80s, the corniest figure you could find, and turned him into a hero. An absolute gem, a masterpiece of a figure for the Classified series. Kudos to those who reimagined the dire tech aspect of this character, and I think they're putting it in other future releases It is an amazing concept. They've turned this figure from a road circus performer, hypnotist, such a corny power, and turned him into a sort of Mysterio from the Marvel Universe. If Mysterio had joined the Cobra forces, he would be Crystal Ball. And congrats, this is an amazing concept. I'm not the biggest pirate fan, and I'm not the biggest illusionist fan. I'm not a big fan of Mysterio and Scarecrow, but this figure, man, it totally got me. Apart from having a lot of the nostalgic feels of the 80s, it really brings something new to the line, and I really appreciate the hard work they put on this one. And truly, I agree. This has to be probably not my fan favorite. It's probably not my favorite, but I do agree with the community's vote that this one deserves the fan vote for 2025. Obviously, the figure is going to get a 10 out of 10. If you're into this line of Cobras, you love the dire tech, and you actually like Crystal Ball growing up as a kid, you have got to pick up this figure. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think of this G.I. Joe Classified Series Richard Crystal Ball King. Hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my latest video reviews. And if it's your first time here, welcome to the channel and please subscribe. Thanks for watching.
Flint, roadblock, they're paralyzed. Destroy them all!